we have to increase the motivation to become financial literate by giving us something that matters to us.
This your boy Ty Corbitt, host of the No Excuse podcast. We'd like to welcome you in, and if you want to learn more about staying motivated, staying tuned in, this is the place to be.
On this show, we will interview experts, everyday people who have overcome challenges and achieved great things. We talk about mindset, motivation, productivity, mental health, business, resources, entrepreneurship, and everything else you need to know to live life with no excuses. If you are ready to take charge of your life and take it to the next level, then this is the podcast for you. So please subscribe. Check us out on YouTube at the No Excuse Podcast. Thank you for tuning in. We have a special guest in the building today, a phenomenal guy. He's teaching me so much. I am so glad to have him. We had to pull some strings, but we definitely got him in the building. He has been amazing in the community. He has done so much. I could do him no justice by telling how amazing and how phenomenal he has been over his years on this planet. He's done things from Dayton, Ohio to all over the world. We want to give a strong and amazing welcome to Mr. Sean Walton.
Good. Thank you. I appreciate it, Ty. I'm just humbled and honored to be here. You know, when you asked me to, come on the podcast, what I said, we'll make it happen.
We'll make it happen.
Shoot those dates out there and we will absolutely make it fit. So it's a pleasure to be here. I stand on truly, people use the term stand on the shoulders.
Yes.
I not only stand on the shoulders of those folks, I stand on the feet.
Yes.
Because you sometimes would dance with your children and they would stand on your feet and you'd walk it through.
Yeah.
I'm not only what God created me to be, but I am a patchwork quilt.
Okay.
I'm literally a patchwork.
Yes.
And I'm a combination of all those experiences and all those people and all those things that I had that really literally led me to where I am today and where I am going. Because at 55, we think that we're almost done. I'm not close.
Man.
I'm not close. I've got a lot more to do. So Sean L. Walton Sr., middle name, we'll let folks figure that one out. But senior, I have to say that because I was a 17-year-old father. And being a 17-year-old father, I say in my bio that I was truly a nervous 17-year-old father. I was, what in the world did you get yourself into, man?
Yeah.
It's all good until, that test comes up.
Yeah.
Right. And then you're like, I was, so being a nervous 17-year-old father, my son and I are close in age. And I know some years back, actually, I think he was fresh out of law school, perhaps. And, he's like, Dad, I'm going to need you to start using senior, right?
Okay.
And I'm like, man, come on, you steal my name. This name has gotten you plenty of haircuts, right? This name got you jumping the line, man. Yes. Just roll with it. But I not only respected that as he was kind of carving out his own place in life, and he wanted to make sure that folks knew, that he was, engaged in the things community-wise that he's engaged in.
Yes.
And he's him and I'm me. And but I'm a father of two now. Sharon, I've got a 37-year-old Sean Walton Jr. Proudly, I try to do some justice to that name.
Absolutely.
I've got Sharon, Sherrun, not Sharon.
Okay.
But Sharon, named after my sister Lorraine Walton. So I've I've got grandchildren now and all that kind of good stuff. But there was a road that led me that way.
Okay.
Right? I was born on Cleverly Road, 925 as a matter of fact, Dayton, Ohio, right down from the old Roth High School.
Roth.
There's two sides of Cleverly. I tell people I lived on the side of Cleverly with no sidewalks.
Okay.
I figured out kind of early on that when you live in the middle of the city and you don't have sidewalks, it's not when you live in the suburbs or a rural area. Right?
Yes.
Like for instance, where I live now, the part of Jefferson Township I live in, there's a sidewalk on one side of the street, but not on the other. So that's fine,
yes.
Right? But when you live in a city and there's not sidewalks on either side, then you realize you living now on that monopoly board, that low
exactly
rent
where
district.
you live.
Because they said, we're not even going to put no sidewalks on that street.
Yes.
But like I said, growing up, 925 Cleverly, I grew up with two brothers in my household, and I was the youngest in that era in that situation. Now, the beauty is that was part of me being a patchwork because I was able to learn from the good and the bad of my brothers, right?
Okay.
And I also figured out how to become a work dodger. Just don't do it right, and they're gonna tell you, "Man, go on out of here. We'll finish it."
You're in the way.
You know what I mean? Until I figured out when I was outside and I was bored because there was nobody else outside.
Yeah.
Come on, y'all, let me come work with it. But my mother and father, I wrote a piece. Well, let me go back just a little bit. What I do right now, okay? I'm a full-time consultant.
Okay.
I work for a variety of different organizations. I partner with. There's a difference. I partner with a variety of different organizations. I do some work with Miami Valley Child Development Centers with their male engagement piece, which I founded with a group of folks and named a component that's growing there called Fatherhood Champions. To say you're male engaged, that's clinical, right? I'm a little sterile, but to say a fatherhood champion,
I like that.
Anybody, fathers, father figures, uncles, granddads, a friend of the family, male friend of the family. Everybody can be a fatherhood champion. So I sat on the board of Miami Valley Child Development Centers for like 7 years. Let them know I was going out to consult. Moved out to do some other things. Would come back, and because I'm an inspirational speaker as well, so I come in, speak to their men from time to time, and then they're like, "Hey, how'd you like to come on as a consultant, just helping us to add some shape to that?" So, I'm pleased to be doing that. Currently, Fatherhood Champions do 3 basic things, right? We support, we encourage, and we role model for one another and the children who we choose to love.
Yes.
Real simple. I also work with an organization called Think Tank. I'm a think tank trainer. The cost of poverty experience. Some folks have experienced that. Thank goodness, Think Tank does a lot of bridge building. I've always called myself a bridge builder.
Okay.
So that partnership there, Think Tank, they do poverty simulations. I've done some video narration work with them and some other pieces. So I'm a trainer. I've done some script writing with them and some other things, all trying to help folks understand what it's like to experience poverty.
Okay.
They draw some clarity on that. Work with Parity Inc. Yeah. So our Black Leadership Development Program, as well as our Northwest Dayton Teen Leadership Collaborative.
Okay.
So I direct that. Just had a vision in my head and working with Carolyn Wright and Bonnie Smith and Carmela Osley. We sat in a room one day about, whether or not we would apply for the Northwest Dayton Partnership Funds.
Okay.
And I'm like, honestly, I was upset because people weren't seeing it my way. So,
Yes.
So I said,
I hear. We all get there. We all get there.
So I said, y'all, let's go home and work on this. And just let me do some writing and I'll send it to y'all. I wrote all night, sent it to them. I was done.
Yes.
At that point, if y'all like it, that's fine. If not, don't worry about it. But I end up directing that piece. So they reached back out to me and said, hey, listen, we're going to have a problem finding somebody to run this. Well written, but who's going to run it? So I do that. So all those are my foundational projects, along with Parity Inc.'s Black Leadership Development Program.
Yes.
And
I'm happy to say, because I want to look in the camera and tell y'all, I'm happy to say I am one of the 23, 24 participants of that program.
Come on.
So when y'all see the graduation, just know I'm in that. I'm going to graduate. So thank you for accepting me.
I love it. Absolutely, man. And that's really, truly one of my biggest passion projects.
Yes.
Because it gives us so many opportunities. Give me an opportunity, number one, to work with folks who are already leaders, either officially or in their own space. But it's not just, when you talk about Black leadership development, it's a purposeful thing.
Yeah.
So it's not just those standard skills, but it's not only going to help you gain the confidence, but it gives you a reason why. Now, my thing is integrity, right? Integrity and legacy. So part of my legacy and part of my integrity is making certain if I serve on a board, if I'm involved with a project, it is never just to build my own career in my name.
Yes.
Right. I realize that just like I rode on the shoulders of some people and stood on their feet, then I have to make my feet available and my shoulders.
Yes.
Right. So therefore, that Parity Inc. Black Leadership Development Program, we get an opportunity to work with from anywhere between 15 and 20 each year. Right. An 11-week program, and that's under the direct leadership of Carolyn Wright, who was one of my mentors. We sat on boards together, right? And she tagged me. First, she had me doing some training for her. Then she tagged me in, and said, Sean, how'd you like to, help us shape this? I think this would be a great fit for you. We talked about doing some other stuff, but Black Leadership Development, that's it. So part of that was just bringing in, folks like you, as we were talking earlier. There's a bridge that almost touches here.
Yes.
Right? It's really, really close.
Yeah.
So we're not making people. We're just simply helping folks to rediscover themselves and their whole purpose. So, but I got into all of that. That'll be the last, I keep saying this, that'll be the last community just ongoing project that I'll take, because I'm an inspirational speaker and an inspirational writer.
Absolutely.
And those are some things that I do.
And we're gonna do some work on that too.
Okay.
We keep saying we're gonna
Absolutely.
we're gonna make that happen.
Absolutely.
So I want to kind of go back real quick. So with that, I know that inspiration is so important, and we want to inspire, especially just hearing about where you came from, how you were a father early, and how you had you have all these things that you have, these achievements, these accolades that you have done thus far. Where did your inspiration come from?
This is a played out thing for a lot of people, but I gotta be 100%. Like, my dad was one of the strongest men I ever knew, like ever. I mean, he was not a perfect person, but the thing I learned about things for him is, with all his struggles, number one, he held a lot of his struggles back until we were adults. I tell dads, I didn't say you got to tell everything, but sometimes explain your struggles at the front end, and your children will understand you a lot better, right? Well, he was one of the physically strongest people I knew, and he, made some mistakes in life, but he would never make excuses for it. But and I listened to what he said, because he was a truthful man. He told me that he prayed for the strength of Solomon. The strength of Samson. Right?
Samson is in my hair.
Yep. He said he prayed for the strength of Samson. And Solomon goes along with this. And he was truly the strongest man I had ever seen. I'd never seen a human being just that physically hand-to-hand strong. He accidentally break lug nuts on a regular basis, just tightening up a tire. I literally saw him, take 200 some odd pounds on a home straight bar and put it up over his head, just physically. What he had been through, he was one of the strongest men. So I figured, man, obviously God answered some prayers around here somewhere.
Yeah.
I heard the story of Solomon, and they said that Solomon prayed for wisdom. And then there were all these Bible stories about Solomon being so wise and could come up with it. So I constantly prayed for that. So I wanted to have a really close relationship with God, Holy Spirit, and to have wisdom. Well, along with that, be careful what you wish for. Because with that wisdom, it became, people say, I love what I do. I don't even know if I love what I do. I mean, I like to sit home and kind of flex my toes and, eat some nice cake and stuff like that, and watch the game. But I can't tell you the last time I watched the entire game through, because with that wisdom, I became obsessed with learning. And I became obsessed with learning in a way that helped people and shaped people's lives. So my inspiration came from not having blissful ignorance. So even as a child, when I was seeing injustice, I would think about solutions, but I realized that I wasn't old enough yet to make all that impact. So the best that I could do was just try to relate to people. I'd be the one to sit close to my family when they were going through. But that inspiration came from me. I was compelled, because I had a fitness company before I started actually working with community programs. I was at actually left that and went to work for juvenile court, for a couple of years. Did really, really well there, building programs. Went from there to community action partnership, designed our youth and family programs there, ended up founding the Youth Empowerment Center there. Figured out I founded it during COVID, because I'm sitting there thinking like, wow, they didn't have that before I came, did they? Right?
Okay. Right. We find out we do a lot of things that we didn't know.
Absolutely. So as we were coming through, I also had a fitness company in there. Right? Didn't get rich, but did well enough. Didn't have Facebook and all. Didn't even have MySpace back then, right? But did well enough. Got a lot of community relationships. That's how I bought my first house, how I bought my second house. But in that, once again, I was compelled. Once again, I can't say I love it. I don't really know. It's like a bird flies, or a bird flies south for the winter. I was compelled and inspired by having empathy for people, being able to connect with people. Their pain is literally my pain. I literally had to pray about that. Lord, give me a filter. Like, help me not, because I was miserable because I would shoulder all the pain. The only way I could get out of the pain is if I released some struggling and some pain off other people, then it released some of the pressure off of me.
So the inspiration came from being able to have the gratification of seeing others do well.
Bottom line. I mean, and like trusting it. Like, even if I don't see them do better.
Yes.
Right? Like, my level of belief and faith in the work you put in. Right? The work you put in, you just got to trust. We're planting tree seeds. Yes, people eat dandelion tea, but we know dandelion tea is good for us. But when was the last time you said, give me a cup of dandelion tea? No. Yes, it does have a purpose. People using the dandelion greens, but when it grows in your grass, it grows fast and you're not happy to have it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay? But a tree, on the other hand, a tree, you got to do some work with that. Especially if you plant a tree seed, but even if you plant a sapling, like literally, you got to plant it, you got to prop it up. But you have to trust that. As long as it takes a tree to grow strong and stand on its own, you may not be in that same space or that house or wherever you may never see it flourish, but you have to trust it. If you plant it the right way, that it's probably going to do better. As long as nobody comes and chops it down, someday it's going to grow to provide housing and shade and nutrients and oxygen to the air. It may produce some fruit, all of these sorts of things, right? When I figured out that, I'm just going to plant a good seed, plant it the right way, the great news is that I've been doing this so long that I've actually had a chance to see some trees bear fruit. But it is the kind of thought that I did my part with all that I could. So if I was to lay down tomorrow and my chest should fall and I rise again, literally, I am comfortable with everything I've done to this point.
Man, that is amazing. That is, I mean, to be able to feel that and know that in your heart and your soul. So I want to take us back because one of the things that I love right now is the Black Leadership Development Program. I love it. And we had our first class last week, and one of the great things, and I brought this book in today, and I want to show this. I want to put this up here so y'all can see this book. Dayton's African American Heritage. This book. This is Miss Margaret Peters. This is her book. This book right here. If you haven't got a chance to get it, read it, see it. I love it because it takes us back. Number one, it takes us back. It has so much vital information that you need to know, but it has such great illustration. Such great illustration in it. It gives you an opportunity. See, I'm a visual learner.
Yes, come on.
For some of us, we're not visual learners. Some of us can just read and be good. I'm a visual learner. And so being able to see that history, being able to understand it, how important is history? Because I know you talked about it when we was talking about this. How important is history, or was and is history, to shaping you and making you who you are, and being able to present certain things and programs to the magnitude of what you want them to be right now?
History is everything. History does a few things for us, right? And sometimes we stop on one. It's never good to stop at one. History can tell us about potential, okay? Not just in the past, but what we might repeat. That could be great things or bad things, right? This is why I hate when history stops with African Americans, or starts with African Americans with just slavery. Because if my potential historically is just slavery, well, that's about no. Let's talk about even during that time, how historically, if you understand that, based upon the percentage of the population African Americans are. See, this isn't about emotions. See, I'm a numbers person.
Yes.
Based upon the amount of time that we've been somewhat free, based upon the roadblocks to reading and all these things, it is unfathomable that African Americans should hold such prominent positions in every area, right? So historically, when I look at what the potential is, I realize that we've got the potential to do good and do bad. okay? I realize that other people have the potential to do good and do bad.
Mm-hmm.
But if I look at, like within that book and within our country, our nation, right here in Dayton,
Mm-hmm.
our own Black Wall Street,
Yes.
right? If we realize that that's a thing, I'm not only proud of the millennials and other people who are opening businesses right now, but I tell them, great, good job, way to carry the torch. Because if you understand the history of that, then you understand, don't celebrate too early. You know, clap for yourself, but realize that there were people who couldn't just walk out of that college with a degree.
Absolutely.
Like they would. So when you understand that history, it makes me go for everything that I can. I don't see many obstacles. I don't identify obstacles as necessarily roadblocks. Like even when we have a conversation about something, I'll say, well, historically, this is what has happened. Now I'm telling you that not for the fact of so you won't do it. But how come people used to always say, how come nobody ever started a committee? I said, no. They had one. Now, before you get to planning, let's go talk to the folks about, one, how they started it historically and what happened historically. Because it's the same thing over and over again. But for me, I saw not just the CJ McGlynn's, right, which is an amazing thing, right? I saw that, but I also know about the fact that to build the West Side YMCA, that it took $850,000 or so of Black community money. Now, when you look at that, yes, I think they said, forget what foundation they said had given some money to that. Great. But let's be really clear. The great majority of that money was given by Black folks from all walks of life, even the ones who fluffed the pillows and took out the bedpan. So because of that history, one, I get rid of excuses. I get rid of excuses.
No excuses.
So it's made me say, there was a time that folks weren't allowed to go to school. So if I can't afford to take a class, it doesn't mean that I can't get the information. It allowed me to say that there were great orators that basically somebody had to be the first one to set up a master's program, right? A doctoral program. Somebody had to be the first one to say that. So when I realized we come from a people who at times knew things, weren't allowed to go to school, right?
Absolutely.
My whole life I've been creating. Fitness company was the first, perhaps full-time African-American trainer in this area that I know of, okay? Now, the Madlocks were probably the first trainers that I knew of. They used to train out of West Area Y. But full-time, like that's all I did. And I didn't live at home with my mother, right? I actually bought a house, bought a car. All fitness back then. Now it's a big industry, but we had to introduce that.
Yes.
Because of what I saw historically, because I saw Willie Donuts down the street from my house on Cleverly Road, when Mr. Willie also had the paint truck down the street.
Well, you taking them back. Some of y'all don't know this. He taking y'all back. So y'all got to then y'all gonna love this. Now take them back.
So when I grew up around people who were making things happen regardless,
Yes.
man, that history just allows me. See, we'll get stuck in the history of, we always mess stuff up. That's not true. There's been no group of people in history where everybody governed together. There's always been a group of people who were kind of the architects of how society would live. Why is it with African Americans, we expect for us all to be on the same page at the same time? That's not a great thought. It's an unreasonable thought. So history allows me to plan for my future, learn from and avoid obstacles, and develop plans so I don't fall over the same stumbling blocks that other people came from, right? But it gives me a shape of what I have in me within my very DNA that literally there is not a thing that's meant for me that I can't learn. And I, like you, learn differently.
Yes. So, and I'm glad we got to that point. That means so much to me because it leads me into education. When we talk about education, education is it's such a big deal, right? If we compare the times, and we can go back generations, we can go back and look at it different times. And I want to just take it from, and I'll use the time as the 80s. Okay. Look at the 80s and what it meant. And I'm just talking, and we can look at graduating classes of people, how massive they was, how big they were, how valuable it was, and how much it meant to even be able to be there and be at the schools and go to class. And I'm not saying we didn't have people who went to school and joked around and didn't do what they were supposed to do. But what do you think is the biggest setbacks with our generation now versus you can go from the 80s and go every 10 years leading up to now? What do you think is the biggest issues with that?
Well, one is we've allowed the world to spend too much time defining education for us and defining what's important in education. So when you leave that up to other people where that used to come from a household or a community, not just because we've always had struggling households within a community.
Yes.
But there's always been thriving people within a community.
Yes.
So when you look at even the approach to education and what I did differently with my children, right? Like someone will say, you did wrong. No, go read a book.
Yes.
Man. So now reading is a punishment for me, right? Versus if I say, oh, wow, look at you. You know what? You did such a great job. We can go to the library. Right? So the desire to be educated was something that was longed for, right? So it is the way you shape something. Like, you know, when a person went off to college,
Yes.
it was a huge deal.
Yes.
Right? If they finished any kind of training program, it was a huge deal. Now, for us, it was traditional college at one point because that was what we were really kept out of, right? So that was such a big deal. Now, honestly, going to the penitentiary was a real negative. Like, you know, it was something that y'all didn't really talk about. You certainly weren't going to throw the barbecue because somebody came home for jail. Now, you may have been happy they came, don't get me wrong, but somebody like, well, where they been? Well, they were away. And it seemed really different, right? So it's where we place our value now. And I get it because we've been held out of something. So it's like saying, I don't like ice cream because I don't have money for ice cream.
Yeah.
Now, back when we didn't have it, I can understand shifting in the mindset. But now that we do have opportunity for education and to shape the kind of education that we want, right, we've got to fall back in that mindset of it is a privilege and there is more than one way to get it. And until you can get it the traditional way, maybe with the traditional thing, key that will open the lock, education is our fingertips all day. So it's just a value.
Okay.
It's the way we value.
So now with that being said, when we talk about education and the value of education, economically, we know that the financial burdens of or the responsibilities of public school districts and private, you know, we can get into all of that. But tell me what role, and I'm really trying to stay away from politics. I do. But as a community and as we try to build, especially with when we look at entrepreneurship, because entrepreneurship is so heavy right now. It's so heavy right now. When we look at entrepreneurship and how we want to do and we want to motivate, and I know I look at it from a three-pronged approach, especially when I teach and I go into the school districts and I'm trying to give them and make sure these kids have options. They understand their options because there wasn't any for me.
Absolutely.
And let me not say there wasn't any options, but the only option that was supposed to be for me was go to college. So what do you think and what advice would you give to our younger generation on how to navigate through that? And what are some of the ways that you navigated through making a choice to go get educated, to go into entrepreneurship, or to be into direct entrepreneurship or skilled trade? What advice would you give them and which ways did you go?
Assessment, right? And I tell folks all the time, I provided something different for my children than I had. But I also gave them the other portion that I did have because I am probably the least formally educated person in the room at all times, right? However, PhDs come see me to consult. It's always been that way. When I left juvenile court, my exit interview with Dr. Hamney, I thought was going to be, hey, Sean, you know, like a standard exit interview. It's like, Sean, help me. What do we need to do with this facility? Like, draw me the blueprint, right? So, and part of that was because I did not understand the walls of, because I couldn't get to college right away. And because I didn't have those things, I didn't understand that I wasn't supposed to know or go get the information. I truly didn't understand it.
Yes.
I taught myself functional judo before I was probably felt like reading the words. Because I went to the library, I got a book, and I read what I could, and then I was flipping folks all around the neighborhood, right? So those sorts of things I did not understand. You could not, right? So one thing that I would say, we'll go back to that, but one thing I would say with folks today is we got to find balance, which means we need some folks who are formally educated.
Yes.
Traditionally, academically. But we also need some people who are formally educated through trades.
Yes.
Now, don't just stop. If you can get into those, and I tell people all the time, everything is political. It can't be partisan.
Yes.
The world is political. The bottom line is that when what's his name? Young Dolph. When Young Dolph was murdered, that was a political reaction, right? You have political wars, right? So everything is, so I'm saying I'm not partisan. I support points without political thought. But the reality is this, even formal education has to make sense financially. That's the bottom line. So what I spend for something, the return on the investment, it's like any other business. Right? So if I'm going to spend $200,000 on an education and go into a field that I make $51,000 annually, okay, and I know that I'm grabbing interest on that $200,000, I have to truly weigh that out. Like, how much of it do I need to grasp that? So we have to have balance when we have to have folks who are formally educated, but we also have to have folks who are in the skilled trade. And one of the reasons they can identify that is by exposing them to options early. That's what I do with young people, okay? If you look at the major universities, right, our Ivy Leagues, all of those were not funded by academics. When you look at the Carnegie Foundation, when you look at all these steel families, families that came from steel and the skilled trades and concrete and all this thing, those were the people who founded the universities.
Those universities.
Because you have to have something that's going to pay for it. So one is I do recommend that folks try to find the most economically feasible educational option, but purposely identify some young people who are electricians, who are carpenters, who are all these things that, quite honestly, and I'm not suggesting anybody break any laws. However, if you didn't get a license to do that, I would still pay you to put my drywall up, period. It can't happen. However, if I'm a college professor, there needs to be an institution at least funded by skilled tradespeople at some point, and even for us to be relevant. So with my children, my son's an attorney, my daughter is a family nurse practitioner. I really tried to push them to the more formal education you get, you have options.
Yes.
So what I gave them was, I could explain to my daughter, I said, if you are just being real, if you are a STNA, how much drama do you see them have to deal with, right?
Absolutely.
So when you're down there and all that pressure's pushing down on you, y'all squeeze together and it's going to be drama. Going to LPN, she's working in hospitals, coming up, right? As she's in college on scholarship, by the way. But as she's in college, right, she's there watching that. She says LPN, well, after her undergrad, she did incredibly well in college academically. I think she got like a 4.0, didn't even need to. She's just competitive. They talk about Sean Jr. all the time. He's amazing, but Sharon is amazing as well. So she like left out with a 4.0 and didn't need to get
Let's
a
go,
4.0.
Sharon.
Okay.
Let's go. Let's go.
In her business, right? Well, she's like, I'm tired of school. But after she got to working in those environments for a while, she began to see what I was telling her again. Okay, sweetie, RN, a little less messy. Family nurse practitioner. Not only is it less messy, now she has Walton Mobile Holistic Healthcare. So she's an entrepreneur. So when I talk about options, I say she can either work a lot, make a ton of money, work a little less, still make good money, but spend more time with her family. Or she can mix the two of them and start her own business.
And
Same
do
thing
both.
with Sean Jr.
And do both. And so now with that, and I'm so happy that we get this. We get this because now they get an opportunity to really see not only to hear, but to see us doing this and see other individuals who are doing this in your community. You can talk to them. You can contact Sean. You can contact Sean. He can walk you through this process. This is real life in your community. This isn't make believe. This isn't made up. This isn't somebody who doesn't exist. This isn't somebody on TV who's trying to sell you something on an infomercial. This is real life. This is in your Dayton home community, Montgomery County.
And the sauce is still the same. I tell people all the time, what I have is called the secret sauce. Okay, I can spread it on anything, and it tastes better than it would, right? So the same thing with, I was an entrepreneur in a few different ways. I have a thing where my son would come to my supplement booth out at Traders World at the time. I was a fitness fitness instructor, health and fitness instructor, but I also sold supplements, right? And I still have a paper that I'll post every once in a while where he talks about what his life is going to be like. And he's going to earn perfect something fitness. My company was Perfect Fitness Services.
Okay.
And he's going to be this and Boy Wonder, and he's going to be a NFL player and something else he wrote down. It was really interesting because he is a civil rights attorney. He uses personal injury to pay for his civil rights. He's done some of the largest cases going. Walton Brown, he had his own law firm probably before he was 30 years old.
Wow.
Right? Because he had a father that you can ask, that education belongs to you. That's the bottom line.
That's
you
yours.
Paid for it or somebody paid for it for you.
Yeah.
Either one. So why does that education not work when you're outside a traditional institution? Now, don't get me wrong. Everybody can't be entrepreneurs. Not everybody's set for that. And bottom line, who's going to do the work? So the other thing is saying not only can everybody be entrepreneurs, but another way that formal education helps, because there are statistics on what you saturate the world with. So for instance, where Sean Jr. is in his market with his law firm, because he fits that particular area, that's what works for him. Sharon still had to figure out a place that she fit within there. Don't get me wrong, I love food trucks. But if everybody opens a food truck in a city of 130,000+ people, somebody is not going to make money.
Exactly.
So we have to, I ain't going to even give the idea, but I can add entrepreneurial value to anybody else's venture just because even if I was a chef, I wouldn't do it right now. But there's something else that I would do that would make somebody a ton of money. But you've got to see those kind of outlying things. So what formal education does, because I don't want to go too far away from that, what formal education does is give us a think tank in another way that can help design and lead people to add the supports to what is the foundation of our country. And I really mean this, which is the skilled trades. And including my daughter who's in healthcare, because we're going to always need a doctor.
Yes.
We might maybe need a lawyer if we can afford one. But Sean Jr. is more at risk than Sharon is, because here's the reality. If this is the wild, wild west, right, we're going to handle stuff ourselves without an attorney, but we're going to need somebody to switch up, to stitch up those bullet wounds.
Exactly. So now, I kind of want to get into this. You know, it's always... society says that we're traditionally Black people, because you know they put that narrative on us. Black people aren't financially savvy. They don't know how to spend their money. They don't know best way. They don't know how to save. They don't know. They spend money on frivolous things. What would you say about that topic? How would you explain financial literacy in the Black community? What would you say to those naysayers who say that we just are very uneducated about financial literacy, or do you agree?
Well, I think, I know. It's not what I think. I'm working on saying that, and I know because I've earned that knowledge.
All right.
So what I know is that everyone's value is based upon what is socially popular.
Okay.
Bottom line. Now, there are a few people who step outside of things. Like I really, truly walk in my own lane. But I realize that I'm a rarity, right? And I'm 55 years old. I mean, bottom line, I've been working on that forever. And I was kind of compelled to do that, right?
Okay.
But when it comes to financial literacy for us, I remember sitting in a meeting with some good guys. So everything I say, you know, I'm not putting nobody down. I talk about our growth together, right? And we're sitting there with men who genuinely love our community. And brother's like, yeah, man, you know, they'll spend some money on some gym shoes, but they won't spend money on this financial literacy education over here, yada, yada. We was talking about all that. I say, hey, why you got that suit on over there? Right? Like what you got around your neck right there, brother. Why you got that? Yeah, well, the reality is this. If they put that suit on, you got that suit on because it's socially accepted and people think better of you in your community because you're wearing that suit. Same reason you got that necklace over there. Those children have those gym shoes because that's what's socially acceptable in their spot, right? So if we make financial literacy and saving and waiting, like one, it's more difficult to do it with us anyway because nobody in this country, actually on this planet, has there been a more intentional effort to lower the self-esteem of.
Yes.
And low self-esteem folks are always going to try to find a way to prop up their self-esteem.
Exactly.
So even in slavery time, we dressed a particular way when we could, because we wanted to try to, you know, and we stood differently, right?
Yes.
So part of our financial literacy will improve once we change what our functional values are, okay? So I'm not knocking nobody, but here's the truth. If you are on the internet, on social media, anywhere, talking about financial literacy to Black folks, and you're using your Rolls Royce to show that,
yes,
okay, poo-poo on your financial literacy. Let's be real, okay? Because let's look at where Warren Buffett lives. But so what you're doing, you're actually playing into our value because we think stuff makes us better because we grew up in a country that told us that literally, even though it hadn't necessarily made us better. But in our mind, we believe people will accept us more. So one, financial literacy needs to be based upon things that people value. I do the same thing with nutrition. When I talk to children about nutrition, I don't talk to them about living long. They don't have a concept of death. Okay, but I talk to the boys about big muscles, being able to do a bunch of push-ups. I talk to the girls about hair and nails growing, bottom line. So there's no sense in me talking about broccoli because it's going to get rid of heart disease. So based upon their values, I approach that. So what I do with young people from time to time is I'll show them options.
Yes.
I'll take them on a drive and we'll talk about what they want. Okay, for instance, maybe they'll plot out what kind of car they want, what kind of house they want, all this stuff. Then I say, okay, let's add that up. Let's Google it and look at what that's going to cost us. So now let's talk about what all goes into that.
Yes.
Because people don't talk to us about that. I know the first house that I bought with as much knowledge as I had a great interest rate because I had great credit. So I was looking at interest rate. I didn't look at upkeep. So I bought as much house as I could afford. I didn't realize that landscaping and the cost of that on top of that is a lot more.
Yes.
It's not normal to have to wait a month to get your car fixed because you should at least have enough money put back for that without all that sort of things being on credit, because people give us half the information. So, all right, getting rid of excuses. We have to increase the motivation to become financial literate by giving us something that matters to us. For instance, if we, and like I said, I'm truthful, not controversial. Okay, here's the reality. If we understood financial literacy, okay, when folks started to engage in the boycotts that we've had, one very big boycott, I won't get anybody in trouble. So one very big boycott, people did not understand. Even people who had stocks and things like that, invested 401ks. Ooh.
Yes.
Yeah, wow. They didn't understand how our boycott would impact the overall system. So having money and putting some money in retirement doesn't equal financial literacy. So what I explain to folks, okay, what you see in the boycotting of bank accounts and the boycotting of certain supplies that are shared with and even sold to certain countries if we're at war with them. or one of our allies is at war. That's called financial literacy.
Yes.
So that boycott equals our boycott.
Yes.
So financial literacy is not just about how much money you make, but it truly is about what you do with it. First, statistics show that decamillionaires, first generation decamillionaires, I mean 10 million or above, right? They usually get that from a higher level education, doctors, lawyers, whatnot, or entrepreneurship. But all of it still matters what you do with it, because in simple, here's how you explain to young people and older people. Like, I like freedom. So I understand that it's not how much you make all the time, it's what you do with it. I literally drive a 2010 Toyota Prius, but I have a wonderful operations manager, good friend of mine, right? People say, oh, you must have a ton of money. But no, I know what I value. I value my future, and I value my freedom. This is why I have partners, not employers. So when we understand the freedom of if and this is like often, this is different than other people are going to tell you, but I'm telling you what old school told me a long time ago.
Okay.
Part of financial literacy is understanding your positioning in this world. Once people find out that you don't need them and you don't necessarily want their stuff, or you want it, like I've had a beautiful Cadillac STS. I've had all of that. Like my Prius as much as I liked anything else. Right? But once people understand, or word understand that you don't need them, or once they think you need them, or you have a hunger for their stuff, you immediately have lost all your financial capital, period. Because they know how to get you to spend your money.
Yes.
Older guy told me one time, I was young, I was about 18 years old, I was working loading docks, right? And I told him, I'm about to get this T-top Trans Am. I said, it's burgundy, man, it's beautiful. He said, good job, young man, don't drive it here. I said, huh? He said, keep driving that old car, young man. See, black financial literacy can be different than financial literacy with some other folks. See, my white counterpart, he can drive that brand new big truck. Oftentimes, this is just the truth. This is the way things function, right? Folks know I've lived a great life, so it's not sour grapes for me. I'm loved by a wide variety of people.
Absolutely.
But I'm loved mostly because I tell the truth. So my white counterpart, he could pull up in a brand new truck or T-top Trans Am or whatever you want. They're going to make sure you get enough hours. But he said, and this old man who had been there. So either we think he's a liar, or we have to acknowledge that that's his truth. He said, young man, if you drive that up in here, they're going to give you the worst trucks to empty, and they're going to cut your hours. They're going to keep you hungry for that. So our understanding is not how much you make, it's how much you can keep, right? I need to redo my little house right now. It needs some renovation, but it's mine. It's mine. And the only way I've been able to serve the community the way I've done, because I didn't make a lot of money at the front end. I'm just now starting on that, right? I'm just now with the work that I do as a full-time consultant. But I was always able to make free choices because I understood early on, yes, you do need some credit, but how your credit grows is how much you don't need credit. That's the bottom line.
Okay.
So it ain't just building you. The fact that I watched what my credit score did when I was coming up. I didn't make a ton of money, but I didn't need a lot of money because I have a bunch of bills. So when they would send me stuff, I had barely balances. Right? I would pay just enough to keep, but they would double my credit card every time. And when they thought I was spending foolishly, they would increase my limit. I can remember one time I forgot my wallet, so I paid for bowling with a credit card. And this is how I figured out, so that's how people get in trouble. And then that same day I bought some groceries. Immediately they gave me another $2,500. Because they said, we've been waiting on this disciplined man to spend money foolishly.
To show he's undisciplined.
Okay? Man, I end up with literally, they sent me $10,000 credit cards that I never applied for. All you got to do is rip and this was back in the day, so $10,000 was a lot of money.
Yeah.
Considering I was making.
I'm broke, so $10,000 is a lot of money to me now.
Yeah, so, we just gotta, yes, at the end of the day, you earn your right to complain. So, unless, what Ms. Carolyn say, our great leader of Black Leadership Development Program, your time, your talent, or your treasure. Okay, so if you're not willing to do financial literacy classes or, help and support in that way, which means your talent, right? Or, your time, just, driving folks back and forth to it, going out door-to-door marketing, or your treasure to pay for it, then what you talking about? I love you, I say it with love, but what you talking about? So yes, we have some struggles in that way, but that's because we think deals are done based upon who's the most qualified. The reality is that deals are done, and I've benefited from these deals. Deals are done based upon how much people trust you. So it ain't just credit, but it's a combination.
You are so well versed in your experiences and your knowledge and everything that you've done, and that's such a great asset to not only our community but to everybody who comes in contact with you. I just really enjoy our conversations because I feel like I learn so much every time.
It's mutual.
It's so great. I wanna ask you one more question. I don't want to hold you. I know you got so much important stuff to do. If there was a young man, young woman, older person, anybody right now that just was trying to find a way, whether it be in business, whether it be in community, just trying to figure it out, what would your advice be to them?
Kindness is your superpower. Bottom line, people think that, when you throw your weight around the whole thing, I've lived a lot of different lives. Folks know me from different spaces and different times. One thing folks can say that I'm really kind now. Now, there have been times as a younger man where my kindness may have shown in a different way, where the folks have thought I've been a bit brutal. But because I was always kind to people, they've even given me love for that. So kindness is a superpower. Right now, the world and media will show you mean, nasty people winning.
Yes.
Simply not true. And they're only going to be winning so long as they have a couple dollars or can trick somebody to think that they have a couple dollars. Be kind to people. Kindness doesn't mean foolish, which means I'm kind, I trust, but I verify, as my buddy Marlon Shackelford's mentor told him. I trust, but I verify. So first, lead with integrity. That's number one. When Northwest Dayton Teen Leadership Collaborative came up with our logo, we had to have a few tag words, and we did a values assessment, and I put them in a particular order. But our four are integrity, family, community, and service. Why do I have integrity before family?
I'll let you explain it.
Here's the deal. I don't care if it's business or anything else. Nothing can be greater than your integrity in life. And I really mean that. So if I put family before integrity, it means that because my family comes in, that I challenge my integrity. I've got a little brother who came into us, and I'm this is what I'm leaving folks with. This is the most important thing ever. And you got to understand what integrity means. Now, if you've got jacked up values, I'm going to be real with you. If the integrity means I stick to me winning by myself every time, that's not going to last long. But when I was director of the Community Police Initiative to Reduce Gun Violence and Community Police Council for City of Dayton's Human Relations Council, it's one thing I told my little brother when I came in. I said, man, he had been with us. Well, he's with us now. Of course, he's just had his 26th birthday. But since he was 8 years old, I shared with him, I say, man, don't get in no trouble because you're going to go to jail. I say, here's why. Because I've stepped into a leadership position. And if I ask for a favor for you, it's over with. I can do nothing for our community because now my integrity is compromised. Yes. Other people say, well, other people do it. I can only tell you what worked for Sean Walton. I can walk in any room by the grace of God and get some love, even with people who disagreed with me. Okay, I've had people I had conflicts with growing up. You'll see us hug chest to chest, rock back and forth, right? Because when you move with integrity, even your enemies have a level of respect that not only will allow them to listen to you, they'll spend their money with you. When it comes time to win, it's the same difference as if you were young and you ever ran for student council or something like that, right? If you were one of those guys who are a little rough, but you had a lot of friends, or one of those young ladies was a little wild but had a lot of friends, all your friends that said that they were going to vote for you for student council president, the reason you didn't win because they didn't believe in your integrity.
Yes.
That they didn't really vote for you. They told you they was going to vote for you. But when people go in that secret, quiet booth of life, what do they think about you? So your integrity had to go across how you treat your family. Everybody knows that I was a 17-year-old father, but I was locked solid with my children. My children are a priority, right? And my integrity with them. In business, when I was a fitness trainer, one of the things was that my lock was I was an in-home fitness trainer. Okay, I'm a man, right? 98% of my clients were women because I was a weight loss specialist. Men would invite me in their home to work out with their wife. Some of those sessions started at 5:30 in the morning and those men were at work. That's called integrity. So I never jeopardized that, so it never jeopardized my pocket. Absolutely. So anything I've done from a grant to a relationship to business, it's all wrapped up in integrity and me being authentically me. So if your integrity is compromised in any portion in life, I'm not saying that you're going to lose. I'm saying that you're vulnerable. So let your integrity be number one. And because you have that integrity, I can kindly tell you, hey, that thing you're suggesting that we're doing, that doesn't line up with my integrity. So no, sir. No, ma'am, no politician, no, I can say that with kindness. When I look in a man's eyes and I say, hey, brother, I apologize if I offended you. Will you let me do that? And I look at him, he understands I'm not saying this kindly as a weak person. Kindness and integrity. So my integrity asks for forgiveness, even if I'm not wrong sometime, right? And my kindness extends that. But the rock solid portion of you, the fact that you stand on what you believe in and you flexible and you're going to take that with you, integrity in every single part of your life is the best business advice, the best family advice, the best community leadership advice I can give anybody. That and kindness.
Well, that's phenomenal, man. That right there. If y'all didn't get nothing, y'all got integrity from us. So I want to say, man, Sean, as always, and I do want to give you a second, please, can you just tell our viewers, our listeners, how they can get in contact with you, where to reach you at, what you got going on? Just give them a quick list, quick shout out, everything you got going on so they can know where to find you.
Absolutely. Cool. I already told y'all my foundational work, my projects, not doing any more of those. So, but I'm an inspirational speaker, inspirational writer. The inspirational speaker, I always tell folks, I'm blessed to do well at what I do. I'm a storyteller. So if you like stories, and I find that's how people learn best, I am your keynote, in addition with some other folks, but I bring a special gift. And I'm known to jump off the stage, so you don't ever have to worry about nobody falling asleep or anything like that. But I also MC events, and I don't just MC as far as just giving folks, you got to be there to have the experience. I tell folks I am as silly as I am serious. I know how to weave it in. I'm always a casual professional, which makes folks feel good. I also moderate panels. I serve as a professional panelist. And so if you're looking for a keynote, I do birthday parties and bar mitzvahs as well. But those are the things that I do for community. I can be reached at, my name is spelled SEANSR, right? So Sean Senior. I can be reached at Sean Senior at SeanSenior.com. So my email address is SeanSenior at SeanSenior.com. That is 6 letters. At 6 letters, that's the easiest ever. I can also be reached at, let me try to send y'all the number that Kay is going to help me keep up with. It's 918. I'll go back to that. 918-973-2677. 918. Did I say that right? 918-973-2677. But if you can't get in touch with us by phone, just shoot that email. We definitely watch that. I am actually building my social media platform. So go to Sean Senior AGI on Facebook. That's Sean Senior, a great idea, on Facebook, Instagram, and eventually I'll actually be on Twitter. Right. But you can also, so I'm building that right now. My personal Facebook page is where people get a lot of information, but in my other stores, they getting on me because it's like opening up a store with only 2 cans of beans on the shelf. So I'm working on my content. I love fashion. So I bring all that to the table, but that's how you can reach me, Sean Senior at SeanSenior.com, and just shoot us an email. You can get on my calendar. I am currently booking for, speaking engagements. If you have an event that you want emceed in a professional way that keeps folks lasting. If I believe in the concept, I also know how to ask for the money. So.
Well, there it is. As always, this production was brought to you by our guy, my business partner, the most phenomenal guy in the world, Mr. Sully. He is at amerifilms.com. Please check us out. This production would not happen without him. He is amazing for all your audio video needs. This is what he does, but we are a team. So, hey, I'll be there too. So as always, you guys know how I do this. Anytime we come into a platform, and our platform at No Excuse Podcast, we just want you guys to know that what we do here is give you an opportunity to really understand the things that will mold and shape you into the phenomenal person that you are. Today, we was able to talk about history. We was able to talk about growth, education, and a host of other things. What I would like to say is that have that integrity that he talked about. Believe in doing the right thing. Believe in yourself. What we do here is we give you that opportunity to not only learn, but to educate yourself. Stop waiting on somebody else to do something for you. Take it upon yourself. It's been years and years and years that they took and held things from us. But one thing that you do have the opportunity to do is to educate yourself. It's to learn. It's at your fingertips. So don't wait on anybody. Don't stop being who you are, and don't stop being great. We love you as always. Signing off.
Shade.
My guy. My guy.